All right, we're back. The Graveyard Shift Cockcast or whatever the fuck Maverick called it. the Graveyard Shift Movie Podcast, episode number 82. This week,
Good Lord.
it was Maverick's pick, and he picked Don't Breathe 2. As you know, we just watched the OG 2 weeks ago at this point, but so right into the sequel. Don't Breathe 2 from 2021, last year. And we both liked the first one.
It was decent. Good watch.
I like this one too. It wasn't I didn't think it was as good as the first one, but I'm gonna rock a 6.5.
6.5.
Six and a half for Don't Breathe 2.
I thought this one was alright, but it was
Uh-huh.
mediocre at best.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna give it like a 5.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah, like it was the story definitely wasn't as strong, I don't think, in the
It was weird. I
yeah.
think it was too good to be true for him to find some young impressionable girl passed
Well,
out.
also, and we won't spoil everything yet because we haven't, but we talked about at the end of Don't Breathe how the big controversy with this movie was that it looked like he was the hero, and the
Yeah.
director was like, well, there's, there's surprises. He was definitely the hero in this movie. Like, I mean, he doesn't even kill the dog. Like, there's a point in this movie
Yeah.
where he has a gun to the dog's head, and he doesn't kill the dog. Meanwhile, the heroes, like, they're burning down the house with the dog in it. They're like, it'll be fine, you know? So, I don't care what that guy says. The blind dude was clearly supposed to be the hero in this movie. Which, coming off of having seen him keep a girl
In the
captive
first one.
and impregnate
Yeah.
is kind of
Listen, Tom,
strange, but
He's not a rapist. Like,
That's
that's what he said. He said, I'm not a rapist.
he did.
Yeah.
Well, hey, spoiler warning for Don't Breathe 2. We're gonna ruin everything about it, so you've been warned. The movie opens up with another drone shot. It looks just like the other one. It's the same street and everything, but this time we see a house that's burning down, and we see a little girl who's like just laying down on the street and shit. And then right after that, it flashes to like 8 years later. So that was the cold open, and now it's 8 years later, and we are with the girl who presumably was the girl on the road, and she's like in the middle of the woods and stuff. And the next thing you know, the Rottweiler, who's still showing up from the first one, he's still kicking. He pops out and just starts barking at her, and she's like, "Oh shit!" And she starts running away. She gets all the way to this car, and she's able to grab a gun. But as she's grabbing the gun, the old blind dude sneaks up behind her and grabs her, and he's like, "You're dead." he's like, "I got you." Apparently, this is some kind of test. Apparently, there's a lot of these tests. We learn later that like she doesn't go to school. This is all she does. She like learns to survive and stuff.
Well,
And-
he says later on that he homeschools her.
Yeah. And if
But
she
yeah, that's
doesn't,
one of the tests is like survival.
yeah, and if she doesn't pass her test, then she can't like go out to the town or whatever. She has to just stay home and shit. But anyway, they go home. She like to the Rottweiler. She's like, "Yeah, you almost caught me, didn't you, buddy?" And the Rottweiler's like, he's all happy and shit. They go home. We get a scene where she's like cutting his hair, and she's asking about like her mother and stuff. And we're able to pretty quickly realize that this is the girl who was in the fucking the street, and that was her house that burned down. And they talk about how everyone died in the fire or whatever. There is a line though where she goes, "Was my mother beautiful?" And the dude goes, "She was smart like you." And I was like, damn, so she was ugly. Like, that's like
Busted.
if you're just like, well, she had a good personality. Like, we all know what that means. Um, After this, that's when we learn that the little girl isn't allowed to go to town unless she passes all of her tests. Apparently, it's been 3 months since she was able to leave town. Uh, this random lady who she like, I don't know what her job is. She's like dropping off groceries.
Dude, I don't know.
I don't
couldn't
know.
figure it out.
She's dropping off groceries to the old guy, but also there's clearly like a relationship there between the daughter and her.
She had a van that they were loading a tree into.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, well, I guess dude does have a greenhouse, right? So maybe he
He
grows.
does. We get some
he
scene in
grows
the greenhouse
plants.
later. It's pretty lit.
Yeah. So maybe he grows plants and she buys them off him.
Maybe, but also she's apparently the one that takes the girl into town, presumably.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. They didn't really explain it. It
Yeah,
doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. But she drops off some supplies and she gets some of her own and stuff. She's like, "Hey, is Phoenix coming with me?" That's the girl's name. And he's like, "No, she hasn't passed her test." And the girl is like, "Listen, you need to loosen her leash, or else she'll break free one day, you know." And so as he walks in the house, he like gives in. He's like, "All right, go with her," you know. So she jumps into the van with the lady. They go to the town. Before they go to town, though, the woman is like, "Do you want to visit your mom, like her grave or whatever?" And the lady's like, or the girl's like, "My dad would get mad if I did that." And she's like, "He doesn't have to know, you know." Apparently, this woman's grave is in the middle of the burned down house. I was like, what kind of... Which I guess she's supposed to be all ash at that point. She got burned up or whatever.
Yeah, died in the fire.
Yeah, but she just goes into the house, and there's just like this little memorial in the middle of this burned down house. And she's like, I miss you, Mom, or whatever. And then as she's sitting there, she starts to hear like someone walking towards her down like this dark hallway or whatever. And she like jets out of there before she can see anyone. And that intrigued me. The steps down the hall, I was like, is there gonna be some fucking like monster in this movie? They never really say who it was, but I assume it was the guy who, spoiler, will end up being her dad later. I assume that's who was down the hall walking
Yeah, it
towards
shows
her.
it.
Does it?
It shows them, yeah. It shows them pop out of the shadow.
Oh.
Like fucking Batman.
I missed it. But anyway, she jets out of there, gets back in the van. They go back to, or they go to town. As they get to town, we get a scene inside of this like coffee shop or whatever, where the TV is on, and they're talking about this dude who is running like a human organ rink. He's taking organs from people's bodies and all this shit. And so immediately I was like, oh shit, well there's gonna be the story. I was like, it has to be something to do with these organs or whatever.
Yeah, they're crazy instruments. Fucking organs. They're not.
Fucking, I hate you. Sometimes. Anyway, thanks Maverick for that one.
Anytime.
It pans away from that, and we see the little girl sitting like in this little park area in the middle of the town, and we get a scene where she goes over to the kids who are on like the
playground.
Yeah, what is that? Ferris wheel, right? Not
it's
Ferris
not
wheel.
It's a merry-go-round.
Okay,
not a merry-go-round.
That might be right.
It's not a carousel either.
No, it's not.
Merry-go-round.
Hey, it's one of them spinny things.
Spinny wheel things.
Yeah. And she goes over to him and she's like, "Can I show you guys something?" And they're like, "Okay." And one of them has like a scooter or something. So she puts like the scooter wheel on the thing and they have someone rip so it like goes faster, you know? And they're all having a good time, but then it's just a little, you know, she was imagining it. Meanwhile, she's sitting by herself.
She doesn't have any friends.
I'm getting a phone call. Maverick, entertain the viewers.
What? The snake is on the hunt. There's a rat in there. Oh, I can't really move it too much. But he's on the hunt. I took all this shit out so he can hunt the rat. Little Takashi's in there.
Would you entertain him with?
I think you saw it.
Back?
Yeah, there it is,
shit.
right there.
Man, you're doing live feedings on the fucking...
I am.
Listen.
He's not the brightest. The rat's over here, and he's way... Oh, there you go. He sees it.
This is cruel.
It's Natural Geographic over here.
I don't think that's the name of the channel. Anyway. Anyway, yeah, so she's fantasizing making friends with these kids. But she's a little loner kid.
She's a little bitch.
Yeah. So the girl who she came to town with is like, "Hey, you ready to go?" And she's like, "Yeah, just let me go to the bathroom real fast." So she goes to the bathroom, and she, as she gets done, she goes to wash her hands, and there's a dude in the bathroom with her, like, leaning against the wall, and I was like, ooh.
Fucking creepy.
And he's like, "You're real gorgeous," and, like, starts, like, touching her hair, and I was like, oh, shit. But then, the motherfucking G, the Rottweiler, do they even give him a name throughout these movies? I don't remember.
I don't know.
But, yeah, but he just pops up at the door, and he's like, "Get your ass away." He's like...
Well, she says... she said if she snapped her fingers, the dog would rip his balls off.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, and he's like, "All right, no problem." And so then as she walks by is when he, like, runs his fingers through her hair or whatever. Which, when we learn what we learn later on, it really seemed like this guy did not take the right approach to get, like, it was super creep.
Super creep.
Super creep. That's not the song.
Super creepy. Apparently that thing is called a merry-go-round. But
I thought you were right.
It's also called a roundabout, but I don't know if that's true.
Roundabout. That's the fucking...
Roundabout.
Boom, 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 boom. That was terrible. It's the To Be Continued song. That was Roundabout. That song is called Roundabout. Anyway, don't worry about it. So they're leaving. Or the girl gets into the fucking the car with the other girl.
Van.
Yeah.
With I think her name was Shadow.
Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow's not a hedgehog, is he? He's a fucking fox, right?
I don't know.
You don't know your Sonic lore?
I don't know Sonic lore.
Alright, well... She gets in the van, she, like, stink eyes the guy who's in the bathroom with her, and she's like, "Is there a problem?" And the girl's like, "No, we can get out of here." So they leave. As they leave, we see the guy then get into a truck with this other dude and tells him to follow the girls. As it does that, it, like, pans over the back of the truck, and we see a cooler sitting there, and I was like, "It's those Oregon fucks. They got their organs in the cooler."
That's like the only cooler they ever use for organs in any movie.
Yeah, it's always that sketchy looking cooler. Yeah, there's a heart in there or something. So they pull off. The truck then starts to follow them. We get back home, and the girl tells her dad that, the little girl goes upstairs. The older girl who's bringing the supplies and stuff tells the dad how, she knows that he's a bad man. And there's like a pause, and then she's like, "Or at least you think you're a bad man because of what you did in the war." Turns out she was also in Afghanistan or whatever. She was in the Marines. She has like a tattoo on her arm. She's like, you can't blame yourself for stuff that happened over there. You're not a bad man. Meanwhile, I'm like, you have no idea. You have no idea.
Yeah. Well, when she first said that he's a bad guy, he kind of paused and turned around, and I was like, he's gonna kill this bitch. He's gonna die. And then she's like, "You may think that."
Yeah.
Like, oh shit. Okay. Cool.
But yeah. So, and then I think he's like, "Thanks" or whatever, and then she leaves. He goes to the basement where he's putting up his food and shit on these shelves, and then it pans. We get a super ominous
Phenomenon.
We get this like lingering shot on it. At the time, for some reason, I thought it was a red wardrobe, but then later it ends up being like a little shipment container, like a little
tiny
6x6 like containment.
Not even. Probably like a 3x3 to be honest.
Yeah. And it gets used later on for something, but I wonder if that's what that guy had envisioned it being used for, or what it was really supposed to be there for, you know?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, but it was a weird shot, and I was like, "What's going on?" You know. Meanwhile, we're still trying to figure out what's gonna be the story. We kind of assume that it's just gonna be these people looking for organs busting into the house and stuff.
Yeah, that's how I figured it would go.
That's what I had thought. Yeah. We cut to a scene of the girl in the van driving down the road, and she comes across the truck from earlier. That's just like it's like a one lane road or whatever, and so she's stuck behind him.
What the fuck?
What's up? He's escaping.
Guy, please. Back. There you go.
My man's. He was almost out. He was like, "God damn it."
Crazy bastard.
But yeah, she's stuck behind this truck, and so she gets out and starts to walk up to the truck. And as she does, the guy in the driver's seat, who I think is the guy who's like the super crazy one of the group, who has that hammer the whole movie, I think was the one that was driving. Or maybe it wasn't, because maybe the hammer guy he might have been waiting in her car.
Yeah, hammer guy was in her car.
Yeah, because spoiler, this girl doesn't turn out well in a little bit.
It's hammer time for her.
This is also when, though, the guy driving was also in the Marines in Afghanistan, because
they were all in the military.
Yeah, it was.
He says they were all. He asked her if she was in the military. She said yeah. And he was like He's like, we are all in the military, but we were dishonorably discharged. And I was like, that's never good.
Yeah, I was wondering how the military stuff was going to... I was wondering if it was going to play, like, a big part of the movie. But it really didn't. Like...
Not...
It was just kind of I can't think of a point that it really came in handy knowing people were in the military. Like, even because the fucking guy, obviously, the reason he's blind is because he got fucked up in the Gulf War or whatever. But he's like a Navy SEAL and shit.
Yeah, they said he's a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, I was like, God damn, he killed Osama? So she's like, can you guys move? They give off super creepy vibes, but eventually they're like, okay. And she like has her hand on a gun that's in her belt or whatever.
Waistband,
yeah. And they're like, sure, we can move, you know? So she's like, all right, cool. So she walks all the way back to her car. And as she gets in, she gets her cell phone and starts to dial the police. And she like has their license plate number because she's, they're pretty sus. But right before she can call them, someone has been sitting in her back seat. Obviously, he must have slipped out, came around and waited for her. And he grabs her, starts choking her. And then he whips out a hammer and just bashes her in the head and kills this van girl. So
yeah, he slips a belt around her neck and fucking cinches it closed. And she's reaching for like her glove box or something, or a gun.
She had put the gun back in the glove box, when she got in.
So she's reaching for it, and then he takes the fucking hammer. Mm-hmm. That's all throughout this fucking movie.
That hammer is in, a lot of this movie.
Crazy.
We cut back to the blind guy, and him and the kid are having a discussion that night where she wants to go to school next year, and he's like, no, you don't.
Homeschool.
Yeah, she's like, you don't. He's like, you don't need that. But she's adamant that she wants to go to school, and then he's finally like, listen, I've lost one daughter already. I don't want to lose another one. So that's when, because I started to wonder if maybe this movie was before the last movie. Because they hadn't mentioned anything from the first one yet. But I was like, okay, well, this is after the first one. I wonder how much he had told that girl about his daughter at that point. Just that maybe she died. Maybe he didn't tell her how or anything, but... Um, but yeah, he's like, I don't want to lose you like I lost her and stuff. Um, and then she drops a bomb on him where she's like, there's this shelter, or no, she doesn't tell him. He like leaves, and then she pulls out like this poster thing, and it's for a kids shelter where it's like, leave your old life behind and you can have a new start at this fucking children's shelter, which we'll learn later those kids that she wanted to play with at the playground belong to that shelter and shit too. So after that, we go outside and the guys are at their house. They have followed them all the way here, and the dudes are standing outside of her house. And they sort of just like, how do they even lure the dog out? Or does the dog just like go growling because he can smell someone out there?
I don't know. It just shows him outside.
Yeah.
And then like he's walking around, and then there's just a bullet hits a tree right next to him. And
yeah.
He kind of just looks around like, what the fuck?
He's like, what the fuck? Yeah.
And then it cuts to black.
Yeah, it cuts to black. We go to the old dude who's put some dog food in the dog bowl, and he's doing like the shaking it, and the dog's not coming. And he's like, that's weird, And so he goes like outside, and he's like whistling, and he's shaking the dog food. And the guys,
the dog's name I think might be Shadow. Van Chick was Hernandez.
Shadow sounds right for the dog.
Yeah, I think it's Shadow.
Also, as he does this, he goes outside. He shakes the food or whatever. Dog doesn't come. He goes back in to get his coat, and we see the guys in the background. They're in the house now, and this is when they realize, hey, this guy's fucking blind, So they just sort of like stay still. The guy gets his coat, and then he goes outside to look for the dog. Inside, the girl realizes that there's people in her house, so she like hides under her bed. She watches if someone walks in her room. The dude eventually walks over to her mattress and lifts it up, but she's gone. And then it pans, and she's like hiding in her wardrobe that's next to her or whatever. And somehow she manages to like sneak out of the wardrobe under the mattress again and around the guy to get out in the hallway, and then go to where the stairs are and drop down on the floor without anyone hearing her. And I was like, what?
She's gangster.
She's gangster, but I don't know if that would work in real life. I'm pretty sure someone would hear that 90-pound body hit the ground,
I don't know. I mean, I think there was a carpet there, and I think she had shoes on.
I do too, because it sounded loud. She was clunking. Yeah,
but she, you can definitely soften your fall with like like you don't just land hard. Like you can use your knees and sort of absorb it, and that would kind of kill the sound.
Yeah.
And she's a little kid, so she doesn't weigh that much.
Yeah, like it's not unreasonable that they wouldn't have heard it.
I found it more like that whole falling and making no sound. I mean, she made a little bit, but I found that like a little bit more realistic than her fucking ninja moving around everybody.
Yeah, the ninja moves were something, and just no one here. She's like right by. They would feel the breeze even, like as close as she was.
Feel the breeze.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, it's not impossible. But
it's not impossible, but it's very unlikely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, she then hides in. Well, we don't know it, but she drops down. She goes out of camera frame. Another guy comes walking. And then there's like a little, it's cool. It's like there's a little side closet on the staircase, like on the wall of the staircase that he opens up.
That's that fucking Harry Potter.
Potter. That's where he slept.
That was that man's.
There's a movie, by the way, off topic. Well, not, but with Daniel Day-Lewis called My Left Foot, where he plays like this real crippled dude who does everything with his left foot. And he kind of sleeps in the same spot. It's just under the stairs. And that's where he sleeps because he's more comfortable there or whatever. But shout out to Daniel Day-Lewis. The So anyway, the dude opens up the closet. He like moves around some jackets and stuff, and he doesn't see her, and so then he walks off. But then it pans in, and it turns out she is actually inside that closet, but she's just like over in the corner behind some boxes. So she manages to get out of that too. We cut outside back to the old man again, and he finds the dog dead on the ground. I was sad as fuck. I was like, oh man. Finds the dog. He starts like, I think he's even crying. He's like, oh man, he's petting him. And at first I think he thinks maybe the dog just got old and died. But then as his hand moves down, he feels the bullet hole and he digs his finger in, which I was like, I don't know if you need to do that. But he digs his finger in, grabs the bullet, and then he's like, oh shit. And he like immediately knows that people are in his house, which I was like, it's Detroit. Someone could have just shot your dog. Like, it's not unreasonable. But he immediately like beelines back to the house. We go back to the little girl, and she gets to like the door to go out, but it has like a window, and isn't the guy just standing there and he sees her or something?
She goes to go out the front door, but one of the guys come up through it, and it's like that foggy glass.
Yeah.
So I don't think he saw her.
No, he didn't, because then she goes like somewhere else, and as she's about to like go through a window, I think someone just like cocks the gun behind her or something. Like, I don't think she gets caught. I think someone sees her and then it's like, where are you going? I can't remember. I watched this movie 2 weeks ago. Anyway, she gets caught.
Yeah. She goes to go out like the window or something, and one of the guys sees her and shoots right next to her.
Yeah.
Shoots the windowsill.
All right. And then she like just freezes up, and he's like pointing the gun at her again, and he's like, I got you now, But then behind him there's a glass window, still barred up though, and the old dude fucking just punches his hand through it and starts like choking the guy and shit. But he does end up like taking a hammer claw to the shoulder during all that too. And the little girl is able to run off because the dad made a distraction. She goes to the basement door. She opens it up and then turns around and tries to close it. And I wasn't supposed to laugh, but I laughed so fucking hard because the dude just runs up and just knocks it in her face.
She takes a nice little shot to the head.
Yeah, and she just goes rolling down the stairs. She manages to get up, and she goes to that little containment unit that we talked about, and she locks herself in, which I guess it only, like, there's no way to open it from the inside once it's locked on the... open it from the outside once it's locked on the inside or something. And it's got, like, a little air thing where metal bars are above it. And so, like I said, I don't know if that was what that was used for, if that was like an emergency thing that he had.
Yeah, I don't, maybe like an earthquake shelter or some shit.
Maybe.
But I mean, well, like tornado or something, I don't know.
Yeah. So she's locked in there, and the guy's just kind of looking at her from the open hole.
On the top, yeah, there's like a little air vent.
Yeah. And we go to another dude who goes looking in like the garage outside for the old guy. The old guy's in there bandaging up his wounds and shit. And he gets like, he just grabs the guy from behind, and the guy like fucking screams, and it alerts the other guys to come to where he is. But by the time they get here, the dude is like super glued his mouth shut or whatever.
Yeah, he was using super glue to patch up that fucking
the hammer claw wound.
Yeah, and then once he caught that other guy, he fucking super glued his lips and his nose.
Yeah,
and like he couldn't breathe.
Yeah,
which was fucking. He was like on the ground squirming.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think his brother came in and saw him on the ground and took like a screwdriver.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna just cut the glue, but he just stabs him through the side of the mouth. And I was like, whoa!
Through the cheek, so he can breathe. And I'm like, well, I mean, it's pretty new, like he hasn't been there 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
I don't think it would have dried that fast.
Yeah.
Right?
And then the guy who still has his face glued, he just like breaks a mirror or something and then cuts open his mouth. You get like some blood dripping down and stuff, but he cuts his mouth free. This is when they see a bunch of medals and shit, and they're like, this dude's a Navy SEAL. And then the one guy has a line that I really like where he goes, he's going to be a dead SEAL. And I was like, oh, got him good. We then cut back to the basement, and the dude is filling up the container with water from a hose, and he's like, you got to come out or you're going to drown, you know? And can I just say that, you know, we learn later these guys aren't meant to hurt her. So, like, what would have been his plan if he drowned this girl? Like,
well, he didn't think, and honestly, I didn't either, that she would be a thug and just stick it out, because she was going to drown before she opened the door.
I thought she was going to open the door.
Damn. Yeah.
But
she didn't give a fuck.
Yeah. So he's filling up.
The whole time, I was like, why'd you put the vents on the top?
Yeah.
Why did you put them on the fucking... Like, you gotta know if it's airtight, which those fucking... I don't think those storage containers are
also
airtight.
Where was the hose? Because couldn't she have gone and just pushed it back out?
Well, he had, like, the fucking... like a grip thing that he stuck on it to keep the hose there. But she could have, like, it's not the strongest thing.
Yeah.
Just push that off too. Now that you say something about it.
Yeah. But anyway, he's filling up the container with water, and then as he's doing this, we hear the basement door closed, and the old guy is now in the basement. He's like hiding back in the shadows or whatever.
He had locked the basement door, so now it's just him, the guy that put the hose in the container, and the little girl in the container.
The dude then eventually, when the dad won't come out, he even like, what does the blind guy throw in? Like, is it just some like smoke or something? Or no,
gas.
It was gas, because then the guy couldn't shoot his gun, or else it would go up.
It would blow up.
Yeah,
but the bad guy got two wires, and they sparked together when they touched. So he was gonna throw it in the water with the girl.
He was like, I'll fry her.
Yeah.
Which once again, whoa, what are you gonna do? I mean.
But yeah, he wanted the blind guy to come out from behind, whatever, stop hiding. But then that's when he throws the gas. So he's like, obviously, if he came out, he would have just shot him.
Yeah.
So he throws the gas. So now dude can't shoot. Now it's hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah. And the guy does end up coming out. And sure, that's the whole, they're going to have like a fist fight. I think the guy is able to tell that the guy's blindless as he's... Not blindless, just blind. But he's blind as he's walking up or whatever. And he's like, all right, let's do it then. So they start having this fist fight where legitimately I thought it was a good fist fight. Like, it was a pretty solid...
it was decent, yeah.
Pretty solid fight. In the middle of all this, also the water had turned off. They had turned off the water at some point. But in the middle of the fight, they run into like the water spigot. And it turns the water back on again. So now the container is filling up. This is when I thought the girl was going to be forced to... Oh, also, the electrical wire is sitting on top. So the water is getting closer and closer to the wire. So once again, I thought the girl was going to be forced to open the container. But she just keeps riding out. I was like, all right.
Yeah, she didn't give a fuck.
Yeah. The old dude is getting the shit kicked out of him. And then he's on his back and he's about to get stabbed. But he grabs another wire and he makes the spark. So the gas then lights up and it blows the bad guy up. I don't really know how it didn't kill. Oh, he put a table in front of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hides behind a table that he flipped over.
Mm-hmm.
And it blows up and he survives, but the other guy got fucked up.
Yeah. He blows him up. Upstairs or outside, they call the leader of the group, which is the creepy guy from the bathroom. And he shows up, and they're like, things aren't going as simple as we thought, you know. And they're like, oh, and the guy's blind. And he's like, he's blind. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, all right. He's like, let's go, you know. So, back down in the basement, the girl at this point is completely submerged in the water. I don't remember how the wires got away. I think maybe
Yeah, well, that's... The blind guy grabbed him.
Oh, were those the wires he... Okay.
Yeah.
But she's underwater at this point. The dad can't get the door open, so he tips the whole container over so the water spills out of the side of it or whatever. And man, I don't know this guy's strength, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that had to be... I mean, all that water in that container, that had to be heavy. Just a crazy amount of weight. I don't even know what to guess for.
It was tall, so it would have been top heavy.
Yeah.
So it's not like it would have been easier to push over. He's not lifting it, like the whole thing. He's just tipping it over. But it's a lot of weight. It's filled with water.
Old man strength. But yeah, and then he's able to get the door open. The daughter falls out. He's like, come on, wake up. And then she does. And he's like, all right, we got to get the fuck out of here. As they're leaving, he's like carrying her, and we see the bad guy all like toasted and shit over in the side. They go outside, and this is when they're hiding in the greenhouse. And I was like, oh shit, we're in a greenhouse. Greenhouse. They're hiding behind a corner. The main creepy dude comes in, and he starts talking. He's like, I don't know who this guy is, but he knows who he isn't. Who he isn't is. Is that right? But he's like, should I tell her or should you? You know? And then this causes the old guy to be like, and just charge out. But he can't do nothing, so he just gets like smacked down. They have him down on the ground. The girl comes out and like starts to fight him, but the creepy guy from the bathroom stops her. And this whole time he's been wearing a beanie. And this is where I'll mention that earlier in the movie, this girl has like a white streak of hair, and she asks her, the blind dude, if she got that from her mom or whatever. So the creepy guy grabs her. And he's like, stop, just listen to me. And then he takes off his beanie, and he has the same white strip of hair on his head. And this is the big twist, that the creepy bad guy is her real father, and that, you know, he went to jail for a year or two because he got blamed for the house fire because they had a meth lab in the house that burned down. And so that's why he's been away. And this guy lied to her and all this shit. And so he's here to take her home. Right after that, though, he's like, well, now you know I gotta kill him, though, right? Like, no time at all. He's like, well, he took you away from me. I gotta kill him. So she still is kind of like, hey, don't hurt him, you know? Which is reasonable, even though this guy is like, I'm your real dad. You know, she was with this dude for 8 years or whatever, and this was her dad. Even though I don't think he ever said, I'm your real dad, right? Or do you think he tried to sell it as he was married to the mom, and that was their house fire?
I have no idea. She calls him dad.
She does call him dad. Maybe he did. Maybe he did say that was his wife and that was their house before. I don't know. Regardless, he's like, we gotta kill him now. Glue face dude shows up, and he like starts to carry the girl away. But as they're walking away, she grabs a pitchfork and stabs him in the foot, and I was like, whoa! And he's like, oh shit, and he like smacks her. And he's like, I don't care if dude is your dad or whatever. I'm gonna teach you some manners. And he's about to like hit her with some. I think he has the pitchfork. But the old dude ends up getting up again, and he has a gardening tool, and he stabs the guy in the shoulder before he gets the. He picks up like this spade, and he beats the guy's head in and stuff. And we see the dude's like jaw get knocked off and everything. It's pretty gruesome.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah. The real dad, because they managed to get away and they get back into the house. The real dad is outside with his boys, and he's like, "Listen, this guy wants us to follow him. So we're not going to do that. We're going to play it smart." So they go to the truck, and it turns out they got their own dog, and this one I believe was a pitty, right? A little pit bull.
Yeah.
Pit bull. Mr. Worldwide, if you will. And they bring him out, and they send him in the house. They're like, go get him. So the dog comes running in. The little girl, like, hides in her bedroom. The old guy goes up into the attic, but the pit bull is like, I can climb, bitch. And he runs up the ladder into the attic. The little girl starts to escape. She goes outside of the house and is climbing around the house. Presumably, she doesn't want to stay with either one of these people now. She's just trying to make it to the shelter, the kids' shelter she wants to get to. So she goes to start escape. The dude up in the attic has cornered himself in the like a corner. That makes sense. Of the attic. With like a metal spring bed mattress. Metal spring bed mattress frame. And the dog is like up on the frame like barking at him. And this is the part I talked about where he has his gun and he like just has it on the dog's head, but he doesn't like kill the dog. And as soon as that happened, I was like, well, this guy's the good guy. I was like, you can't have this guy not kill the dog.
He's a dog guy.
Yeah, I guess. So he doesn't kill the dog. But he ends up like throwing the frame on top of the dog, going over and then scooping it to where now the dog is locked in the corner. And he's like, stay here, you know? Outside, the little girl gets grabbed by this new guy that I think was the first time he's popped up in the movie. And he chloroforms her. And he's like, it's going to be all right, you know? And so now the dog is asleep. They get the girl into the truck. The guy then comes, the real dad, and he has like gas and torches. And the one dude who's in control of the dogs is like, but the dog's still in there. And the guy is like, he's dead. Don't worry about it. And the dude's like, you sure? And he's like, you want to go check? And the guy's like, no, it's fine. And as soon as that happened, I was like, well, this guy's clearly the bad guy. He's going to torch the dog, you know?
It was Molotov cocktails.
Yeah. And so they start tossing the Molotov cocktails and burning down the house. And once again, the blind dude is clearly the good guy. He goes back into the attic and frees the dog so the dog doesn't burn up. And he's like, get out of here. And so the dog goes running out of the house. The old dude, like, falls out the window and lands on the exact same place that kid had landed in the movie before, but this time it's like an inferno below him. So if he falls through, that's a that's it, and he'll probably get burned up to death, you know. But unlike that kid, he's able to make his way off of it and get out of the house. He hits the ground and then he kind of just passes out. The house is burning down and all that shit. We go and the girl wakes up and she's in this bed and her dad is sitting there. And he's like, listen, you can leave, you know, or you can stay with us. It's your decision now. And before she makes a decision, what does she ask him? She's like, who was my mom or something? Or what's my real name? Who was my mom?
Yeah, birthday.
Yeah. I don't remember what her real name was. I think it was like a Lily or something.
Oh, fuck. I forgot.
I don't know. But she asks him some questions. He answers them. And then she's like, all right. And then she gets her backpack and she like is going to leave. And I was like, that's probably the responsible decision, is to leave, the meth lab dude. So she's leaving. She goes downstairs. She walks by all the people that have been, chasing after her all night. And she gets all the way to the door. But before she can open it, you start to hear this song being sang that the girl has sung once or twice throughout this movie, that she says her mom used to sing it to her. And I was like, oh shit, the mom's still alive? And so it pans over, and the mom is like in a wheelchair in the dark, and she's singing. And I don't know what it was, Maverick, because when she ends up coming out of the dark, she looks like a normal lady.
Yeah.
But when she was in the dark, I swear it was the creepiest looking thing to me.
It was pretty creepy. I thought it was going to be like this form.
I did too, like the way her face looked in the dark. I was like I legit was like, ugh. Like I was like, oh no.
I was expecting something crazy.
Yeah, and then she comes out and it's a perfectly normal lady. And I was like, oh, okay. And the mom comes out and she's like, baby. And then the girl goes away from the door and runs and jumps and hops on her mom and starts hugging her and shit. And she decides to stay with her parents. And by parents, I mean she decides to stay with her mom. Clearly, she doesn't really give a shit about her dad. But the mom won her over in the end. We go back upstairs, and they're sort of just sitting around talking. The mom has a coughing fit, and she's like spitting up blood and stuff. And she explains to the daughter that the fire burned up her insides and stuff. And she basically says she's dying because the smoke from the chemicals of the meth lab got into her heart and all this shit.
She doesn't say meth lab. She said...
Well, yeah, their business, their chemicals or whatever.
Yeah. She says that they used to have a kitchen in their basement.
Uh-huh.
And, what was it? It caught on fire.
Yeah.
Messed up her insides. And they said the kitchen was, they used to cook in it.
Yeah.
And it was for their business.
Business, yeah.
Yeah. But she was explaining it to this little child, so she didn't want to come out and say...
Yeah, she wasn't like,
hey,
our fucking meth lab burned down.
Yeah.
So she's telling her all this. The dad, meanwhile, has gone and like got her like this little orange juice, this little chopped can of orange juice that she's sipping on. And then basically this is when we get into the second twist of the movie, which is the mom is like, you love me, don't you, sweetie? Don't you want you thought I was dead and you were sad. Don't you want your mommy to be alive? And the little girl was like, well, sure. And basically the lady says that she needs a new heart. But not only does she need a new heart, she needs like an exact match. So she needs a relative, or in this case, like a child. And
not a child.
Yeah,
just a relative.
Just a child. Wait, just a relative. Yeah, but basically they're like, we need your heart. But instead of the girl making her decision, which they're trying to guilt her, they drug her the orange juice, and she starts passing out. And so that's the second twist, is that the parents now are just using the daughter to get a new heart for the mom. We cut back to the old dude, and he wakes up on the in the yard, and the pit bull is sitting next to him, just waiting for him to wake up and stuff. And he's like, "Go away," But as he's saying "go away," he starts to hear like a little ringing, a little bell. And he follows it all the way until he gets to the girl's van, who's dropping off the supplies, where her keys had bells on them or something. It was blowing in the wind. And he finds the girl dead. Which I'm not really sure why the van was so close to the house when that happened. But, whatever, I guess. And he finds her dead, and he feels bad. He's like, oh, fucking Tina, or whatever your name was. Or what do you say, Hernandez? Yeah. And then, After that,
military, they go by last names.
Yeah.
So you don't know her first name.
Then after that, the old dude gets a full gearing up montage with rock music, and he like goes in the van and he's getting a machete and like yeah. And I was like, what is going on at this point? Yeah. And he suits up. He puts like the bells from the keychain onto the dog, and he tells the dog to go home. And so he follows the dog by the bells. Cut back. What happened?
The dog.
No. We cut back, and the little girl wakes up on the surgery table. This is when I was like, why would they want her to wake up? Why not do it when she was asleep? But the doctor who's there says that if they kill her before they take her heart out, the heart will slow down too much, and it wouldn't work. So they have to do it while she's alive. Still, I was like, couldn't you do it when she was asleep? Like,
there was some reason for it, but it didn't seem very plausible.
I'm assuming this doctor, by the way, is the guy they were talking about with the organs.
They showed a I don't know if it was
like a millisecond of a picture of the guy on the news. A picture or
like a drawing, a sketch. But yeah, it's the same dude who was doing the organ the legal organ thing. Yeah.
But the doctor's like, we got to do it when she's alive, and so they're like, all right, we pan over, and the dude who chloroformed her is sitting next to Hammer Guy, and the guy who chloroformed her is like, this isn't right, man, what they're doing. But the Hammer Guy says that the wife is the person who does the cooking, so without her, they have no business, they have no money, so they need her alive. And the dude's like, that still doesn't make it right. And the chloroform dude like gets up and walks away. They're right about to start. The doctor's coming down with the saw when the electricity goes out. And they're like, what the fuck? And so they send the Hammer dude down into like the basement area to check on the circuit breakers. And he goes, and the switch has been flipped or whatever. So he's like, okay. So he just flips it back on, and the lights come on. And as they do, we see, like, behind the guy sitting there is the old dude. And as soon as the light switches, he knows the guy's standing there. So they get in a fight. They hit the switch again, so the lights are out again. The old dude, which I thought this was cool, he shoves the bells into the guy's mouth so he can hear wherever he's moving and stuff. And the guy's like,
he chops him in the throat and puts the bells in his mouth. So he's like choking.
Yeah, it's real, yeah. And the guy drops the hammer too. And so he's like listening. The old dude picks up the hammer. He's listening to the guy walk around, and then he just fucking and just chucks the hammer into the side of the guy's head and knocks him out. And then he walks over there and just fucking hammers him in the head as he's laying down on the ground. And before he does that, I know her first name because he says it. He goes, "This is for Cheryl," and then he like hammers her in the
Cheryl?
head. I have it written down. It was Cheryl.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or did he say Shadow for the dog?
No, Cheryl. I think it was for the girl, Cheryl. Unless he said Shadow, but it was real muffled.
I don't know.
Anyway, but Hammer Dude is dead. Back to the operating room. The real dad is like, how the fuck did this dude find us? And then right after that, the dog comes walking in with some bells still on his neck. And he's like, you fucking unloyal mutt. And he like takes a shot at him. And I was like, whoa, what are you doing?
Yeah, he shoots the dog's bowl.
Yeah. Once again, I was like, clearly, bad guy. That's like you're shooting at the dog. The dad then sends more of his guys down into the basement to look for Hammer Dude. As they go down there, the old guy is sitting to where he's in a puddle. So as soon as they walk into the puddle, he can hear their steps. And he whips out his gun and just starts blasting. And he kills both the dudes who walked into the puddle. But there's one left who hadn't got to the puddle yet. And that's the guy who chloroformed the little girl and was having second thoughts about it all. And so he's standing there. He also has his gun. But he tells the old guy, who I believe the old guy might have been ran out of bullets at that point. I think he might have been empty. And so he tells the old guy that he doesn't.
He was empty.
Yeah,
No bullets.
he's like, I don't like what they're doing up there. They're gonna kill her. Basically, he's like, you need to hurry. He's like, go down the hall, take a he tells him where to go, and he lets the old guy go. And that dude ends up living this whole movie. Shout out to the chloroform guy.
Left.
Yeah. Back to the operating room. The dad is like, all right, pack up your things. We're gonna do this somewhere else. So they get the mom in a wheelchair, and the mom is handcuffed to the daughter, and they're both in the wheelchair. The daughter, as they're leaving, is like, he'll kill you all. And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, she's thug.
And as soon as he said, he'll kill you all, the doctor went, fuck it. And he started running away.
Yeah, he was like, I'm out.
Yeah. He runs
and
away.
Then you hear a bullet. You hear a shot.
Yeah, you hear a shot.
That's the death of him.
There's a smoke screen, and then the real dad starts like shooting into the smoke too. And after the smoke kind of clears, the dad walks down to where the doctor was, and he finds him where he's shot. And he's like, motherfucker. And he goes, and now they're in this big like gymnasium pool area. It looks like that pool area in that mission in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the all gillied up when you're in the... What's the town where the nuclear thing and it's deserted? Chernobyl, yeah. And you like walk through the gymnasium where the big pool is empty and everything. Anyway, but he goes and he like hits a button and all the shutters on the blinds to this gymnasium open up. So now it's like bright and he's like, I can see anywhere you are now, But after he does that, the blind dude just tosses in more smoke. So now he's blind again. And it was kind of like when the girl was attacking him in the last one, where she was just doing like strafing runs by him. The blind dude starts just like strafing and cutting the guy with his, or he's hitting him with the hammer, I think.
The little hit and run. Yeah,
little hit and runs. And eventually the real dad thinks he hears him, and he like shoots through the smoke, and we hear like like that. But as the dad walks through the smoke, we see that he had just shot his wife in like the chest or whatever.
Killed her, man.
Yeah, and the wife is dead. The blind dude jumps out, grabs the dad again. In the background, we see the girl or the mom as she's dead. She's in an electric wheelchair, so her arm like lands on the go forward button. So now they're racing towards the pool, and the girl is still handcuffed to the mom, so she's coming with her. The guys keep fighting. I panned down on my notes. I'm lost. Hold on. Here we go. The old dude and the dad are fighting. And the dad gets the advantage, but the pit bull jumps in and jumps on the dad. And he's like, motherfucker. And he like throws the dog through the window or whatever. And the dog goes out into the hallway. And he's like, got you good, bitch. But then as he turns around, the old dude is standing right in front of him. And he just grabs him and he goes, now you'll see what I see. And he just fucking shoves his thumbs into his
straight Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and I was like, oh god, and he does it, and the guy slumps down, and presumably he's dead. Meanwhile, as this is happening, the mom did go off the side of the pool. I thought the pool was going to be full. I thought they were going to do another drowning thing.
I thought they were going to do a drowning thing,
but it ended up being empty. And so she's dangling, and the girl ends up getting like a machete and trying to chop her mom's arm off to be free from the mom. But it doesn't. She ends up falling anyway. But it was like the littlest. She like lands on top of the mom. Like it was the littlest little fall. I was like, all right,
Oh, they're like 10, 15 feet deep on the deep end.
But anyway, she ends up she cuts free of the arm and she climbs out of the pool. But before she can come near the old dude is like, don't come near me, He's like, I'm not a good person. He's like, I've killed. He finally admits, he goes, I've raped, you know? So he finally admits that even if he didn't like force himself on that woman, it was still clearly rape. He's finally like, I've raped, you know, all this stuff. He's like, I'm a monster. You can't, you know, I'm not a father. And so he's like, go, and she like runs off. He's crying and stuff. But as he's crying, the dad, who is still blind but is still alive, comes up behind him and stabs him in the back. And then he is about to cut the guy's throat, but before he can do it, the little girl sneaks up behind the dad and stabs him through the back, like through the chest with the machete.
Oh, fucking machete.
And the dad stumbles and falls into the pool and lands right next to the mom, where they're both dead in the bottom. The old dude is bleeding out, and she's crying now, and she's like, "Let me help you," you know. And the dad is like, or the old dude is like, "You already have," you know. And so he dies. She leaves, and the final scene is her walking to the foster home or whatever, where the kids open up the door who were from the playground, and they're like, "Come in," and they're like, "What's your name?" And there's like a split second goes by, and she's like, "Phoenix," and then it's like, like just starts blasting, and that's the end of the movie. Except for I turned the movie off because I thought that was the end, but Maverick,
No,
there's an after credit scene.
there is
Of the dog going up to the guy on the floor, and his hand fucking like twitches or whatever.
Yeah,
And so
him and the dog.
the guy is presumably still alive. So who knows if there'll be a third one, but the motherfucker, he strikes again. So
What would the third one even be about?
I don't know. This movie wasn't even like a horror movie, really. This was like Taken and John
It's all
Wick.
action.
Like the dude was mad they
Yeah.
killed his dog and they took his daughter. Like, yeah,
I mean, you could argue the first one was about the same.
yeah. I don't. Like I said, I liked the movie. I thought it was fine, but it definitely isn't as strong as the first one, and the story's weaker. And even though they say, like, I get this was kind of supposed to be maybe a, not even a do good story, but it's just like sort of an owning up story for the old man, where he's finally admitting all these atrocities that he's done, you know, and admitting that he did, you know, no matter what the circumstances were, he raped that girl in the basement and he killed those kids, and you know. But this movie had a budget of $15 million, made a box office of $47 million, which I can't remember exactly what the first one made, but I think the first one made a lot more money than the second. To be fair, though, when this came out, it's still, I mean, theaters still, people don't really like going to them right now because of the Rona. But, so that might have impacted it, or people might just not have wanted to watch a second one of this fucking movie. But,
Yeah.
but yeah. Let's do best of, worst of. This is, I don't know what my best of is. Fucking. Just for the joke, I want to say my best of was the guy talking about he's going to be a dead seal. Just because it made me laugh so much. But in reality, it would probably be the shoving the bells in that guy's throat, so then he could like ding him in the head with the hammer. And then worst of, fucking, I don't know. There's I can't pinpoint a worst of, but I'm sure there is one. Yeah. Maverick, what's your best of, worst of for?
I liked all the fighting scenes. Like, they seemed pretty good to me.
Fights were good, especially the first one in the
yeah.
basement. It was really solid.
Yeah. The gore factor was pretty good too.
Uh-huh.
The dude who got blown up,
Yep.
fucking,
The guy with the spade with the jaw. That was good.
Yeah. It didn't look like a whole lot of CGI, so
Uh-huh.
I'm guessing it was all IRL.
Yeah.
And it looked good, so I'll give them props for that. Um, Worst of is probably I'm not a fan of the whole sneaking around shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some movies that can do it pretty good where they use like wide shots to get like the effect of them like ducking and diving behind walls and shit.
I mean,
but this one just cut a lot.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, the first one had a lot of the whole movie was them trying to sneak around the house to not be heard by this guy. And I mean, it was done way better in the first one than this
one it'd be she hid somewhere, someone would go and they're like, "Oh, they're going to find her."
Yeah, and it wouldn't show you her it wouldn't show you her moving. It would just pan and suddenly she would be there.
But it happened like I wouldn't have a problem with it. It happened like twice or 3 times. But it happened like 5 times
it did,
back to back. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But yeah. All right. Well, I think that's the end of that one. R.I.P. Shadow, the Rottweiler, the best character of the fucking movies. I'm sad he had to go.
The house burned down.
House burned. I'm surprised. Nothing involving that girl who made it out of the first one. I thought for sure she would have something to do with the second one.
Maybe the third one.
I don't. But then, like, I wonder where that guy's life goes from there. Because if he's tried to admit to his actions, does he go back to being like a piece of shit or like?
I don't know. Maybe he tries to.
He tries for a third daughter.
Or no, he goes to prison and he's fucking.
Yeah.
He's beating everybody up.
I could see that. The third one being him in jail. Because someone's going to get blamed for all these bodies, I mean, that are found, right? And the dude's house burnt.
Now, all the bodies are in like abandoned hotels, so... I mean...
Well, the one in the greenhouse by that guy's house that burned down.
No, they picked him up.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah, they put him in the truck.
Oh. Well. Alright. Well, anyway, next week... It's my pick. I'm picking a movie I've never seen before, Maverick. And I'm pretty sure you haven't seen before, even though you'll know the characters because it's famous. But I do believe this is our first Stanley Kubrick movie that has been on the podcast. So next week, we will be watching A Clockwork Orange, directed by Stanley Kubrick. That's those guys. If you look it up, you'll recognize the guys immediately. They're in the white suits, and they got the singing in the rain.
See, is that a horror?
Yeah, it's like a horror mystery crime thing, and it's supposed to just be weird, and it's one of them where it's a classic. So, the star of it. Michael McDowell, I want to say is his name. He was the guy who played Dr. Loomis in the remakes of Halloween. The one who like wrote the book and everything, and then Michael kills him in that shack in the second one. Spoiler for Halloween 2, directed by Rob Zombie. But anyway, next week, Clockwork Orange. And yeah, I don't think last couple podcasts we've had other stuff to talk about at the end, but I don't think anything really. Started watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. That was pretty funny.
I started watching Euphoria. A lot of dicks in the first like 2 episodes.
Let me tell you,
I
was on Twitter today, and someone on Twitter was like, "Listen, I like Euphoria. But I've seen so many dicks. Like, I don't even want to... They're not even, like... Apparently, this is second season they're on now. Apparently, someone had, like, a microscopic dick. They're like, why was this even... He's like, I'm sure no women must find this attractive. No woman's really, like, But, yeah. I haven't watched Euphoria. I probably won't.
The second season, the first episode dropped.
Yeah. He's escaping again.
It's fucking, I don't know. But that, and I watched. They said the first season of that Peacemaker came
Yeah.
out, but it's 3 episodes, and I was so confused. I was like,
Yeah.
"What?
I
You don't call
hate
that a
I hate that they're
fucking?"
doing that nowadays. It used to be Netflix and everything. They would put the whole season out at once, and now they started doing this episodic or weekly thing, and I hate it.
Yeah,
So I probably won't start watching Peacemaker till it's done.
I don't know how many episodes it's gonna
I
get.
assume it'll be a 10 or 8, one of those. But Dexter finished. You could go watch.
I don't know about Dexter. I didn't like the first 2 episodes.
Listen, Dexter.
Dexter.
But anyway. All right. Well, next week, Monday, coming out will be Scream 3. Check that one out.
Overtime?
Overtime of Scream 3. And then Friday will be Clockwork Orange. And that's about all we got going on. Like, share, subscribe. Been a while since I said that. Shout out to that one guy, I don't remember your name right now, but commented on the Faculty podcast and dropped 17 facts about the... And I was like, all right, cool, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, anyway. Maverick, got anything you'd like to add before we get out of here?
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing.
All right.
New mic.
New mic.
The stand. Fucking this little thing. I had it on this, but it the thread went bad. So now it just kept slipping off.
Uh-huh.
So now I put it on the stand that came with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I'm feeling about it.
As we were talking, this was 10 minutes ago or so, I was looking, and above the recording thing on OBS, it's streaming, and I saw start streaming, and I went, oh my god. I was and I was like, oh yeah, okay, we're good.
It's not streaming.
Yeah. But anyway, all right, thanks for watching. See you next week for all that shit coming out. We'll catch you then.